Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Rabbit Hole Podcast. I am your host, CSD Fantasy. Hello, Fantasy Faithfuls, and welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Rabbit Hole Podcast. My name is CSD Fantasy, and I am flanked by the one and only Nick Faber and the Coin Master, Matt, man of the people. He's a better person than me. Last minute Matt Williams. How y'all doing?
Last minute Matt. Ooh, that's a perfect nickname.
Pretty good actually. The what was with that echo when the show first started? Anyone else hear that?
Yeah, it's because Nick can't stay unmuted during the intro, so we can hear the intro twice.
That was me. Adding the echo. It's a little bit of a eerie echo to start in. You know what I mean? You never know what the show is gonna have.
It's about sending a message,
Dun, dun, dun.
like or something like that. When you just can't stay unmuted, and it's like Carl has way too much power in this show. Let me show him that I'm my own man. Is that what it's about?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
The coronavirus fairy came in and stole all of my facial hair.
Is that what happened to it?
Yeah, that's what happened to it. I don't know what the hell.
It looks good though. It looks good. I like it.
It's hot as hell in here, so my wife's bringing in a fan. If anyone's wondering what that random sound is,
A fan is always good. You don't have AC?
in where we are right now, we just have like freaking windowed units because it's an older place. They work good, but I don't have one in my office. And if it's like one of those times where it's kind of hot out, it's one of those in between days. If I keep the door closed in my office, it can get pretty shitty in here. This is the only room it's an issue.
I mean, if I didn't have AC living in Atlanta, you would not survive.
Yeah, New Jersey, you can kind of get by.
Yep. Yeah. You go down to the shore, get with some people, talk to Snooki, Situation, all that group.
That is North Jersey. Literally, there should be two different states like the Dakotas.
Isn't your like top 5 in smallest states, and you want to be 2 in New Jersey's?
I don't think we're top 5 in smallest states.
Okay, at least it's like
Jersey.
10.
I don't think so.
You're top 5 in small states.
I don't think so. I mean, most of the ones in New England are smaller than us.
Okay, but you have like Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Vermont,
Delaware,
Hawaii, New Jersey.
Hawaii is not smaller than New Jersey, is it? Is that true? Okay.
I was just spitballing. Say that it's easily top 7 in smallest. You want to make 2 Let's hear from the chat. Do you want 2 New Jerseys?
We don't, because you know what it is there's not a state where there's 2 vastly different. There are probably 3 vastly different areas, because the North Jersey is basically New York. I mean, maybe New York City should just be bigger, because New York is like actually North Jersey is basically just high population. There's bigger cities up there, like most of the population, I want to say like just 75% of the state is in North Jersey. South Jersey is basically like, farmland. It's completely different. It's like freaking like southeastern Pennsylvania, like Lancaster, like without the Amish people. That's what South Jersey is. And then North Jersey, there's beaches, but then, it's like the really packed beaches with all the freaking super tanned Jersey Shore. And then the South, it's more like rich people and families. That are like, I'm not talking rich people like Donald Trump. I'm talking like rich people like, that like moms with giant hats that don't want to be touched, like that kind of crap.
Pennsylvania, though, real quick, in regards to the Amish that you had mentioned quickly and breezed over, Pennsylvania Dutch, who come from the Pennsylvania area, part of my heritage right there.
Heyo.
Heyo.
Yingling and cows, man. Go Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, that's where the famous iceberg salad comes from.
All right, what the fuck are we talking about right now?
What the hell is an iceberg salad? I mean, I know what iceberg lettuce, but is there an iceberg salad?
Lettuce and salad is the same word in my language. I mix them up sometimes.
Gotcha. Iceberg, right. I gotta say, that is like the most worthless food item. There's no nutritional value.
Water and a plant that does.
But it has
it's crunchy water.
Crunchy. It's fantastic crunch
However,
to it.
there is a restaurant in Michigan that does iceberg wedges, and they do a wedge iceberg with bacon, blue cheese, olive, a bunch of.
I can't.
It's
I like
basically-
salad. I hate iceberg because you know what? I only eat the light green lettuce. The dark green, hate it. The white, hate it. I only eat the light green. Like,
Yeah, but that's the best part. The light
Iceberg
green.
lettuce is the worst. I'm just saying that at least this place here fancies it up to make it somewhat special.
yeah. It's like, no, it would make this healthy salad better. Cover it with bacon and cheese and what is that? The Cobb? Is that what's the Cobb salad? Is that egg? What's on there?
There's a ton of stuff. We have lost every listener.
No. They're still on board.
Hey,
here.
people want to know about Cobb salad,
No,
chef
no,
salads.
I have no idea what a Cobb salad is, but a wedge salad is fantastic. It's basically a crunch with blue cheese dressing, and it's fantastic.
Delicious. Let's go on. Are we talking about football? Let's talk about
Yeah,
football.
we are, because we
Hey.
do have a fantastic show for you here today. But feel free to interrupt at any point in the live chat. As always, if you have any salad questions, try to direct them to another podcast that we have on Thursdays, the Salad Rabbit Hole. But before we get into today's show,
That sounds really fucking weird.
This
I'm sorry.
Rabbit Hole is a podcast I would listen to.
I don't want to listen to the salad hole. No, thank you.
Salad Hole.
We
have
salad.
Brian Emke here on Periscope have a fantastic comment that I have to highlight. He said Auden Tate is better than Cobb salad.
I can't argue against it. That's the problem.
We're connecting it with the Cobb
However,
salad, which is
Auden Tate better than Randall Cobb.
that's how I took it.
No, there you go.
I think that's a hot
Auden
take.
Tate better than
Now is iceberg better than the ice box from Little Giants?
Nobody's better than the ice box.
This
Just
show
don't-
is ridiculous.
Just don't call her Becky. But before we get into today's show, I would like to remind you to hit that like button. Please share it on social media to help us get the word out there. Subscribe if you haven't done so, and check out CSTFantasy.com for even more content. But now, guys, you know what's happening. We're going to the news.
The news.
That's that echo again when Nick just can't stay unmuted.
That wasn't me. Come on. Damn it, man.
We only have a couple of news items here for y'all today, but one of them is near and dear to my heart, and it's a video that was posted on Twitter by the Atlanta Falcons' own Twitter of Todd Gurley doing leg press with one leg, the bad left knee leg. And they're like, you're still worried? Are we still worried? Because they still haven't had a freaking physical, but he's doing this on social media. Like, what's going on? Are we still worried about the leg, or are we just worried that he as a whole has broken down? Matt, what do you think?
Today's show topic is going to be players that are on the decline. And to spoiler alert, my answer is running backs. Any running back who's had a good year is on the decline. So, yeah, he's on the decline no matter what. Who knows how much weight? It was probably foam weights. We don't know. It's on social media. I didn't actually see this video. But, yeah, there's a lot more to be worried about with Todd Gurley than just him being able to do a single rep of leg presses. So, yeah, I'm still very worried.
Nick, you feel the same?
I mean, this is a big magnitude. Like, this is very broad to bring up this question. Are we worried of Todd Gurley? Are we excited about this?
Okay, let me put it this way. Are you worried about the knee, or are you worried about him and his physical abilities as a whole? Is it still just a knee issue, or is it more what's going on with him? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I do know what you're trying to say, and I'll put it in layman's terms. Todd Gurley, he has what's his ADP right now? Hold on, let me look at his ADP. Todd Gurley's ADP sitting at 7th round, 8th pick. I'll gladly take Todd Gurley in the 7th round, 8th pick in a PPR league. No, I'm not worried about Todd Gurley being anything more extravagant than a 7th round, 8th pick.
I didn't realize he was going that late.
He's been going up and down between the 3rd and the 7th, depending on when you look.
Here's the thing, though. The knee, like, who cares? Like, Darius Geis, like, we don't care if you can lift if you do a leg press. It has to do when you get on the field and you have to make cuts left and right. If your leg wasn't strong enough to do leg lifts, you would never be allowed on the field. So I mean, that's anybody. So congratulations, you're doing something that you absolutely is the beginning step of rehab. Way to go.
The comparison you're trying to say right now between Darius Geis and Todd Gurley are magnitudes of different.
I'm just saying there's someone with much more serious knee problems. If he's doing a leg lift, I don't give a crap either. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Me neither. The fact of the matter is the video. No, it doesn't give me any worries or any extra hype. But Todd Gurley going as late as he is, I will gladly get every single share I can of Todd Gurley in this Atlanta offense, because even with an injured knee and a coach that did not want to put him in as much as he should have, he still ended up with double-digit touchdowns. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what his minimum and maximum pick was, because there's no way. Todd Gurley going that late, I mean, I don't want to draft Todd Gurley, but there's no way I'm picking Philip Lindsay in front of him. And I don't really have a problem with Lindsay. I still think he'll be valuable in his own way, but I'm taking Gurley. I'm taking a shot on Gurley before.
And the guys and behind him, Damian Williams, Tevin Coleman, Sony Michel, Raheem Mostert. If you get to this point, Mostert might be the only running back that I'm going to argue that might outscore Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
Give me Gurley all day.
I think I'd rather have Jonathan Taylor. Not that I want him but I think I'd rather take a shot on the rookie than Gurley. That's where I am though. I agree with what you said, but I also, if I'm not going to be probably drafting in this area at all. So, I mean, this is probably an exercise in futility, but if I'm in that area, I'm probably going to take a shot on someone else, but definitely not a lot of the guys going currently in front of him.
I disagree, and I would probably take Todd Gurley over pretty much anyone behind him. Clyde Edwards-Helaire would be the only running back that I would be interested in as a rookie running back behind him. However, he's going in front of him. So anyone behind him, I'll gladly take Todd Gurley at that point. So to answer.
CDP's weird, man. It's weird.
It hasn't stabilized yet.
Wait, what?
I'd rather take Gurley than David Johnson, who's going apparently 2 rounds ahead of him. I'd rather have Gurley.
See, that's the big debate, and I don't know if
I don't want either. Yeah. But my running backs have been drafted by now in that point of the draft.
In comparison to Todd Gurley in the round that he's in. If you're saying if I have to take David Johnson 2 rounds earlier, like you just said, no, I don't want David Johnson. But in the 7th round, I'll gladly take Todd Gurley.
If they were both available in the 7th round, I'd still take Todd Gurley. That's what I'm saying. I don't want either in the 5th. Right. But I'd rather have Gurley than David in general. He's going 2 rounds earlier.
I'll take neither in the 5th and both in the 7th, please.
What about so this other news item that we have on the list is somebody who's been very vocal in the past, but have now changed up completely and is actually turning down interviews. Baker Mayfield is playing the quiet game, and this gets me, as Dan DiMarino in the chat says, "Go Browns" vibes. I'm getting a little excited. Shut your mouth a little bit, Baker. Just shut it a little bit. Odell is in the news all the time. I've been talking about how I feel like you're not paying a premium for the name Odell Beckham anymore. You're paying for production instead of just, he's OBJ, so I have to get him in the 2nd round. No, you can get him a little later, 4th, 5th, if you're lucky. Baker Mayfield is a little bit quiet. I'm starting to see a lot of value with the Browns team as a whole outside of Austin Hooper. Am I the only one who's seeing a lot of value here, Nick?
I don't. So here's the thing. I definitely did not like the Browns last year with all the excitement that was with them, all the hype. We saw OBJ coming over, and it was just supposed to be the best team in all of football, and it absolutely wasn't. And it's what we talked about many times. However, this year, I don't know if I fully believe in it. You have the addition of Austin Hooper. And in my opinion, it's not going to be the biggest addition to their offensive scheme. It's all on Baker Mayfield. He's a lot quieter. We're not seeing those Hulu commercials. Hey, Jeffrey, with a quick introduction to himself. I don't know if I believe in Baker Mayfield. And that's the biggest thing. Even with him being lighter on the media and his Twitter and his social media, I'm not going into any kind of Cleveland player except for Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt is going in like the 6th round, I believe. That's still too early for me. I can't buy in. I can't buy into OBJ, Jarvis Landry. I don't know how this offense is going to do. Freddie Kitchens may have been the big factor in all of it, and we don't know how the new coach is.
But so you're saying you're not even buying into Jarvis Landry that finished as wide receiver 12 on just terrible passing offense. Baker was he was his worst in year 2.
Absolutely.
And Landry still finished wide receiver 12 in PPR.
Although he didn't have a healthy
he
didn't have a healthy tight end the whole year, and now he has 2. That's going to affect Landry quite a bit.
David Njoku is overrated at that point.
Yeah. Well, no, but he's there. No, but remember before he got hurt, his final that in the midseason, he was actually being utilized a lot more. I'm not saying he'll be a huge deal, but he's still alive, and Austin Hooper's there. I mean, that's not good news for Jarvis Landry.
Real quick, again, what he said about Jarvis Landry. No, I think OBJ actually plays more of a plays more of a role in the Cleveland offense. That's going to lighten the Jarvis Landry role. It's also going to kind of keep OBJ where he was, maybe a little bit more. I think he plays more of a role, but they don't succeed more, right? Like he has more targets, but he doesn't get too many more yards. He doesn't get too many more touchdowns. Baker Mayfield has shown time and time again he can't score. Like this isn't a quarterback that Sam Darnold puts up more touchdowns per game than Baker Mayfield on a Jets offense that is like
no talent,
just way worse. Like exactly, no talent. So I really don't believe in Baker Mayfield. I don't know about the new coach, the new regime. It always takes a year to get like that kind of rhythm going. Who buys in to a quarterback with his first year offensive coordinator, head coach? Not me. I don't know. It's just not what I'm buying.
By the way, fantasy football calculator, just take your sight down for now because this ADP is just a joke. I don't need to be looking at Julian Edelman. Who's taking him in front of Odell Beckham Jr.? What?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It's just all over the place right
Jared Stidham to Edelman versus me to Odell Beckham. We're taking Beckham still with me heaving it up to him.
Let's add in the 5 other players around those 2 players. So you get OBJ and you add in the 5 players around him and who that quarterback and how often he has produced successfully quarterback touchdowns, yards, how often he has been successful. You add in 5 other players and then you take Stidham, who also has no production.
But where do you see Edelman on the top, Matt?
If you're sitting there in the they have him in the 8th round, which is crazy. There's no way he sits there. But you're in the 8th round and you need a wide receiver, and Edelman and Beckham are your top choices. Yeah. You're taking Edelman?
No.
I'm not. Are you anybody here like even remotely eyeing Julian Edelman?
I think I'd rather have Darius Slayton than Edelman.
Where is the argument? The argument is there for Edelman. The argument is there for Edelman. Like, just for the fact that...
Although Hoyer's probably going to start for them, right? Isn't that the rumor that they may opt to go with Hoyer?
That's why I picked up Hoyer in our Dynasty League.
To get 8 points every week? Awesome.
Yeah, maybe really, Sony Michel.
That's how you win.
The time is here.
Yeah, that's how you win fantasy leagues. 8-point quarterbacks.
Then the guy who drafted Stidham who will get 0. And that's all you can't... You don't have to be the best, but you just don't have to be the worst, right? That's how fantasy works, right?
If you're not first,
you should be the best.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
the best that's kind of key.
Watch out for Hoyer to throw 4 touchdowns a game in Josh McDaniels' offense. And if it's not him, Brian Lewerke. Jared Stidham will be nothing but a afterthought in 7 months, I guarantee it.
I was listening to a really interesting take from Darren Woodson, a former safety for the Dallas Cowboys, the other day, talking about evaluating players and coaches in relation to who to give credit to. And he was saying maybe we should calm down a little bit outside of Bill Belichick because it hasn't been that good. The players who, like the coaches who have left New England, haven't had that much success, Nick. So maybe we should calm down a little bit about that offense and remember that they've had one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, if not the greatest quarterback. Maybe that offense isn't as cool, calm, and collected without Tom Brady behind center, under center.
I can't agree with that for the simple fact that Bill Belichick is probably the smartest defensive mind in the NFL.
Yeah, defensive, but offensive. You can rely on Brady to be calm and be the brain behind it if you run your defense like a freaking mad scientist who just outsmarts everybody. But your offense, if you can rely on one player to produce the magic, you can go back and look at any sport where it's like, oh, I have the best offensive player on my team. Let me figure out the defense and let him figure out the offense. That works in other sports as well. So why wouldn't it work in football?
So I'm not trying to argue that Jarrett Stidham can be Tom Brady or that Matt Castle could be Tom Brady. The point is that Bill Belichick has the best defensive mind, which by itself makes your offense better. It doesn't matter what.
By the way, chat, if everyone's wondering if you came in late, what we're talking about, it's because Nick wants Julian Edelman instead of Odell Beckham Jr.
I'm just saying there's an argument to be made for Julian Edelman over OBJ because the only person in New England is N'Keal Harry. Who, you believe in Rex Burkhead?
I don't believe in anybody on that offense without Tom Brady.
I believe if you have someone with no arms throwing you the ball's never going to get to you.
I believe if you have a defense that can hold up to anything, and probably the best defense we saw last year, returning many of their players except for the few that the Lions decided to take. Way to go, Lions. They'll be just fine.
I think Burkhead, James White, Sony Michel, Damian Harris are all alive, and they're going to be very, very much used this year.
I'm just saying Edelman could easily get 115 targets. OBJ could easily get 75.
Your take on that, I just want to look up Martin Brodeur when he was the goaltender for the New Jersey Devils and see if the best offensive players actually did practice against him because they didn't warm up against him.
Jimmy Stevens defense for the Devils during that time. No, that's not right. Something Stevens for the Devils. That
we do have a take here from Not Analytics on this before we move over to the weekly topic, and it's for what it's worth, both Wes Welker and Moss had over 1,000 yards in the Castle year. So that's a point for Nick. So I will say that with Not Analytics having that chat, I will say that this ends up being 2-2, and as we always know, Nick loses a tie. So,
and I'm also going to give this one away just for the simple fact that Welker and Moss are extremely better than N'Keal Harry and Julian Edelman. So,
yes.
Yeah, and defenses had to actually worry about that team, where now they can literally be like, all right, what are we going to do? How about we put all eight people instead of in the box? Let's put them on Edelman, and then we're good. 8 people on Edelman, we're set.
Makes me want N'Keal Harry a lot more.
Yeah, it does, actually. I agree with that.
But it's fun that we talk about Todd Gurley and Julian Edelman because they bring us into this weekly topic. The weekly topic is players on the decline, players that are bound for some negative regression. Nick has a lot of movement behind him, and we do appreciate a little bit of activity. So we're all good with that. These players could benefit from maybe a little bit more activity on their fantasy scoring than we're anticipating.
By the way, that man behind you appeared to have a dog's tail on the way by.
The way by?
Yeah, he went by. We saw him and then a dog's tail. Does he have a dog's tail?
Because that dog is right there. Bruno.
It's a dog man. It's a man dog.
It's a man dog. Like Spaceballs. Half man, half dog. It's a Mog.
And he's going to knock over my lights right now.
Half bear, half man, half pig. But anyway, players that are declining, I would like to bring up my first player, and Matt alluded to this earlier about running back that had a really good year.
All running backs.
Yes,
if they haven't had their career yet, year yet, I want them. If they've been good, I don't want them. It's my new thing.
Alvin Kamara.
Derrick Henry, go away.
Yeah, Aaron Jones is my guy. just it's all or nothing
away.
with him all the time. Looking at his touchdown rate, it was the third highest of any running back with more than 50 carries. And if we take into account his rushing patterns, he gets a ton of yards up the middle in the A gap and when he bounces it to the outside if they have a tight end lined up. But not as much running next to the tackles on either side of the field. He's actually quite poor there, meaning his running style is also boomer, just his fantasy scoring. So with the success he had in 2019, I expect him to regress heavily back to the mean in 2020, especially with the competition for snaps on the Packers. And since we do have a Packers fan, what do you expect from Aaron Jones in that running back field next year, Matt?
Before the draft, I wasn't as worried about the touchdown regression because they do use him quite a bit in the passing game, especially in the Matt LaFleur offense. So I would have been fine with it because he's much better than Jamal Williams. Even though I've warmed up, I've used to be really anti-Jamal Williams. I mean, freaking him with all the weird stuff he does in camera. He's a likable dude. But yeah, now they bring in Dylan. It's a three-headed monster. They're clear that they like him. They're going to use all three. So if you bake in the touchdown regression with the fact that Williams and Jones are going to be free agents and Dylan possibly is the future, you can make the argument that they're going to run those two into the ground because of it, but they're obviously still going to be using Dylan. You're not getting the discount needed on Aaron Jones for me to invest. I've seen him go in the first round still in some redraft leagues already. So yeah, even though I think he's still good, and if he was in a backfield if it was just him and Jamal, I'd still probably be on board. I can't right now. They're going to be, especially without drafting another wide receiver or bringing in anyone of note to help Devontae Adams out. It's obvious that they're going to be leaning on the running game, both in the passing, running backs, both in the passing and running game. So I think they're all three used, and that really hurts Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I'm definitely not buying into Aaron Jones. That's for darn sure. I'll just be quick about it. Aaron Jones is going in the 12th pick in the first round right now. That is nothing to – I don't want anything to do with him. I'm not touching him. I will not go with Aaron Jones. Behind him is Delvin Cook. There's multiple running backs that stand behind Aaron Jones right now. Miles Sanders I'd rather have. Leonard Fournette I'd rather have. I'm not buying into Aaron Jones. If Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, they're going at the same pick as Aaron Jones. Give me all of these running backs over Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I don't trust him at all. Like you can't score that many touchdowns and not be more of a consistent running back. When I look at rushing trends, I look for consistency across the board. If you're a good runner to the left, to the right, up the middle, if you can run inside the tackles, if you can run inside the guards, if you can bounce it to the outside, if you're consistent in all these areas and you run a fair bit in all these gaps, you're probably going to be a pretty stable fantasy running back. That's what we've seen from Christian McCaffrey on his really good year. You've seen it from Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon when he's been healthy. These plays can run in any direction, anywhere, at any time.
They are also given the opportunity to do it. I think that is I don't think it's necessary that Aaron can't, but it doesn't matter to have that argument because he's never going to be in the game long enough to run enough routes for us to even see it. And I think that's the biggest issue. No matter how you feel about Aaron Jones' ability to get it done, he's never going to get the opportunity. So it doesn't actually matter what you think about that because I think that he'll never get an opportunity to even prove it. And I think that's the bigger issue. If he did prove it, we could be, I could be proven wrong of how good he is, but I don't think we'll ever have the opportunity to see it.
Yeah, and that's even scarier.
If the Packers can't find a second wide receiver that fits along with Aaron Rodgers, we saw that after he couldn't find one early last year, it became Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is that pass catcher, and he went to him time and time again. And even after an Aaron Jones,
big plays too, sometimes big plays.
Exactly. So even after an Aaron Jones drop in the end zone that should have been a touchdown and was just flat out dropped by Aaron Jones, the next play, we saw Aaron Rodgers have enough trust to go back to Aaron Jones for a reception for a touchdown. We like so if Lazard, if MVS, if
if Adams is healthy and on the field, all of that is going to him, in my opinion. All of it. Like you're gonna have his red zone targets are gonna be off the charts next year if he's on the field.
Yes. By the way,
like
if anyone doing like a dynasty league or trying to make moves right now, and you're trying to speculate on who that number 2 is, don't forget that St. Brown, Queenie St. Brown, still exists. He's actually had a good. He actually had something decent going before he got injured. So everyone's still banking on MVS St. Brown's going to be going for free. If you're just looking for, like, if you want to speculate, I would always speculate on the cheaper end. He's just a name that at the very end of drafts, or if you want to get someone on your dynasty league that's like literally free, don't forget he exists, because anyone could be the number 2 player on this team. And I think Aaron Rodgers loves Alan Lazard, but I think St. Brown could end up being the guy too.
Nick, who do you have for some negative regression coming in 2020?
I don't know. I mean, there's, like Matt said, really any kind of running back that has done any kind of work. Derrick Henry was a guy I was going to bring up. Matt quickly alluded to him. There's these players that I think Christian McCaffrey, I think we're going to go draft him 101. I think it's really risky.
If you had a year that could conceivably be a career year, you're on the decline, right?
Yeah, and even not even a career year, but that's like a year of the ages.
Yeah, I mean, McCaffrey probably on his way down. Barkley could probably still have his career year. Dalvin Cook probably on his way down. Alvin Kamara still valuable, probably on his way down. Josh Jacobs still good. Zeke on his way down. Derrick Henry on his way down. Aaron Jones on his way down. Joe Mixon still has still needs something to prove. Nick Chubb still something to prove. You know what I mean? I think it's a good rule of thumb, because I went through like every running back, and if you think about it that way, I think it's a good way to narrow down who you're going to take. Melvin Gordon, done. Chris Carson, done. Miles Sanders, why is he going so late?
God damn it. So here's what I'm trying to say. Running backs have been avoided. Oh, I'm lagging too. So you can just look at my screen freezing. But the fact of the matter, if you can hear me,
it's him right now.
Running backs have been depleted. Get to the wide receivers and get to the second drafted wide receiver in fantasy football, according to Fantasy Football Calculator, as much as Matt doesn't want to believe this ADP. The second drafted wide receiver is DeAndre Hopkins. He is going to a new team with a new quarterback. As much as everyone wants to believe that he is just amazing, it takes every wide receiver at least a year, especially with no offseason, to get acclimated to your quarterback. You can ask me about OBJ. You can ask me about any wide receiver to go to a brand new team ever. And there is maybe
Terrell Owens.
Terrell Owens being the only.
Amari Cooper.
Burn! I'm out of here. Good night.
I was going to say Terrell Owens, but I didn't want to. Like, Terrell Owens is the option.
Amari Cooper.
If we want to compare, Amari Cooper was successful for about 4 games and then dreadful the rest of the year. He was not a fantasy option when he went to Dallas from Oakland in that year. He was a fantasy option for 3 years. Do not give me Amari Cooper. What I'm trying to say is that Terrell Owens is the best one. You're right. Other than that, there's nobody. So don't give me Nuke being the second best fantasy wide receiver.
Randy Moss.
Brandon Marshall.
No, Randy Moss goes to
2000 season is the first season every team he played with.
Brandon Marshall was pretty good PPR.
Man, he's a forgotten guy. He was a head case, but man, he was good. He was good.
Okay. So we got 3. Now give me every star wide receiver to go to a team and be unsuccessful. Please flood our chat with it, because
every time
a million of them.
Well, not to mention he's going to a team where instead of being the obvious number 1, which he kind of still is. He literally has so many other options. Kyler can throw the ball to so many talented people on that team.
There's so many talent. You can go down the line to Keyshawn Johnson. You can go down to Andy Isabella. You can go down. There's so many wide receivers on this team that can be successful.
I wish they actually had Keyshawn Johnson. Like, give me the damn ball, Keyshawn Johnson. That would be fantastic.
I mean, still they have
sign him. Said Chad Ochocinco. Get Terrell Owens. Let's get them all. Let's get them all on the team. Rock and jock football.
Nuke being drafted in the 7th pick in the first round is abysmal to me. And anyone who does it, I laugh at and I move on with.
Who do you guys have as wide receiver 1, by the way, for this year?
MT.
Yeah, gotta be Michael Thomas. Has
to. We're doing PPR. I'm going Michael Thomas all day.
All that stuff out there, because there was that weird argument, like trying to break him down for not having a large ADOT and things like that, and getting a ton of targets. You mentioned that you really liked Emmanuel Sanders in the last show.
I do.
I'm starting to think. I think Kamara has a nice bounce back, especially in the passing game too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's Michael Thomas, but I don't actually have an answer because I can say Devontae Adams because of the targets, and I actually think that's decent. It almost makes me want to pass on wide receiver. I mean, I'll take running back early like I probably usually do in today's age, but it seems like a terrible year. Even Julio Jones, because, Calvin Ridley, I expect to finally try to maybe start taking over a little bit in Atlanta. Tyreek Hill is probably okay option there, but like I'd rather wait at wide receiver one. I think there's question marks there where I think the person who is the wide receiver one could easily come. If it's Kenny Golladay, I know you probably love that as a possibility, Nick. If he ended up being wide receiver one, I wouldn't shock me. I think that instead of there being a clear-cut number 1 and 2, I think there would be a really tight group at the top between a lot of people.
See, I've been touting Golladay, and I've been laughed at by y'all. I've been saying it.
I'm coming around, man.
Well, I love me some Kenny G. There's just a lot of shit to go around. I almost kind of like Marvin Jones a little bit more than Kenny Golladay, and the value
more. Oh, okay.
Not to say that he's going to finish better than Golladay. Golladay has a great potential to get your 1,300 yards and be a top 8-7 wide receiver for sure. But I love Marvin Jones. I love Hawkinson this year. I love Amendola, Marvin Hall. There's just a plethora of guys to go around. The number 1 wide receiver, you asked the question, I said Michael Thomas. If it's not going to be Michael Thomas and we're trying to go outside of the consensus number 1, Cooper Kupp.
No,
not even number 1 on his own team.
I think Robert Woods is found for some real nice.
In PPR, you guys are crazy to think Cooper Kupp is going to be outscored by Robert Woods, especially with Brandon Cooks not being there. With Brandon Cooks being there, it's kind of a valid argument.
I think Cooks leaving helps Woods, though, not Kupp.
Yeah, I think so, too.
What? No, none of the guys that are going to be battling Cooks deep is going to be dealing with Kupp down low. Kupp is going to be that perfect PPR player. You're playing half PPR, standard. I agree.
I like them both, by the way. I don't want to be like arguing against Kupp. I like them.
Woods is just going much later too. I just want to chime in here with a comment from the chat from Not Analytics.
I'd rather have Brandon Cooks than both.
I do agree with this one. Michael Thomas' status as number 1 is much a function of his floor as anything else, and I do agree with that because it is. He's not competing like Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. They have Tyler Higbee. They have the other tight end that I'm blanking on. They have other people who can catch the ball. Go ahead, Nick.
Gerald Everett.
Thank you. They have other people who can catch the ball. In Atlanta, you have other people who can catch the ball. They just got Hayden Hurst from Baltimore Ravens. They have Calvin Ridley. They have Julio Jones. They now have Todd Gurley who can catch the ball. So you still know that Julio is going to get his target, but there's still other mouths to feed. For DeAndre Hopkins, you have Andy Isabella, you have Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk, potentially Kenyon Drake, Chase Edmonds. It's going to be players who can steal targets from Nuke. For Devontae Adams and Michael Thomas, I feel like they have less competition. I'm not that big of a Emmanuel Sanders fan as you are, Nick, and I'm not as big of a Jared Cook fan as many people are. I do think Alvin Kamara is the biggest mouth to feed outside of Michael Thomas, but Thomas has shown that it just doesn't matter. He's just going to demand targets because who cares if you only get 8 yards per catch when you're catching 98% of all targets? I'm exaggerating, but you can just march down the field like it's like a running play, but you're passing it to Michael Thomas. It was just impossible to stop him. So his floor is just incredibly high. I do think Devontae Adams has bigger playability and a little bit higher upside with some positive touchdown regression.
It's tough to draft floor that early. I know you want that. I mean, you want certainty. You want to be right. And Michael, you're not going to be sad drafting Michael Thomas, but would it shock me if a guy drafted in the 4th round, A.J. Brown, ends up being close enough to Michael Thomas this year if defenses are actually wise and maybe put an extra body on him? No, Michael Thomas is going to be better, obviously, but I can see the ceiling being low enough where I don't want to make the 1st round investment. I don't have a problem with it. If you take him, you won't have an issue. But basically, if you're taking a wide receiver in the 1st round, you're deep shit. You need to take running backs in the 1st round, but you may take the wrong running back, so you could be deep shit. So, I mean, so you're saying, I understand taking Michael Thomas. Floor is a wonderful thing to have. It's just, I don't know. I am risk averse, but I think that feels, I don't know. I don't know if I just don't want to do it.
I'm breaking this open to the point that Carl made over here. Carl made right here. This guy. I think Todd Gurley and Hayden Hurst are the two like least respectable people that I want on my team right now. I think Julio Jones is about to have one of the most incredible years along with Calvin Ridley because Hayden Hurst is a first rounder?
I'm telling you, they love him here. They absolutely love him.
But you're making that point about first-year wide receivers.
Now name a tight end who goes to a new team and is extremely successful in that first year. Name me a few of them, and then I'll tell you 100 other tight ends to go to a team and do crappy. I love Hayden Hurst. I think it's a good pick. But the fact of the matter is Todd Gurley could easily be injured by week 8 to a point where his arthritis in his knees are just so bad they have to go with Ito Smith and who is the other who's the Q guy? I can't
remember. Quadre
Allison.
I can never remember his name, but regardless, plus the tight end position, you have who's backing up Hayden Hurst right now. I just third string in Atlanta.
Hey, speaking of someone on the decline, Austin Hooper, his career might be over. Congratulations on your free agent pickup, Cleveland. I think his career's over.
But he
cashed in though. Yeah, he cashed in like free. Take me. What is it? 45 million.
Number one wide receiver could easily be Julio Jones this year. Easily.
Yes.
But I want to go back to the point we started with here that led down this fantasy rabbit hole. Running backs, and I have an exception to the rule that Matt stated earlier. And that's why he's my favorite running back almost every year because he's so safe. He's so safe, and I know I'm being a homer. Ezekiel Elliott. Like, he just keeps producing. You said, if you have a career year, Zeke had a career year his first year. He would have had a career year second year, but he was suspended. He had a career year again 2018 and in 2019. I'm not particularly worried that he's not going to get me 300 plus points next year in PPR. I'm not worried at all.
I think here's the issue for him, because I agree with everything you said. They have 3 incredible wide receivers. They're going to take advantage of him. Mike McCarthy, as much as I didn't like him as a Packers fan, it had a lot to do with the personnel that was given to him. The offense got really stale. Aaron Rodgers never had anything like this to throw to. Mike McCarthy now has a lot of toys to play with. Ezekiel Elliott, while I think will be fine, I think there's players taken in the second, third round who have a very good chance to meet up with him. I mean, Miles Sanders is definitely a favorite. I know that you're going to hate this. Nick will love it. Leonard Fournette, I think, is in personnel-wise around him if he's healthy. Just because of the way that Dallas could operate this year with that beautiful new offense, maybe geared towards, letting Dak off the chain and take advantage of all the pass catchers. By the way, he has 2 tight ends that are very usable as well. And he has another running back in Tony Pollard where we see how people start to break down. They could try to utilize him a little more. I think Zeke is fine. I think you draft him, you'll be happy. But I think his career year is behind him. And even though his decline may not be an upsetting decline, I think the decline is already set in, and I think it'll continue to go down from here. Whether that's, there's degrees of decline, but I think Zeke's best is behind him.
I think having these 4 years gives me enough security to be like, he can do it for 2 more. He can do it for 2 more. He's that type of, he's almost the Adrian Peterson of his generation where it's just going to keep going for a while. And I'm not particularly worried about his fantasy stats. And even with the passing game improving, you still paid Ezekiel Elliott like crazy amounts of money. And I know Jerry wants to win, but he also wants to be right with who he pays.
We can list every single running back from now until 1999, and you can find maybe 4 running backs to be successful 5-6 years in a row.
It's very few of them.
Hold on. Didn't we have this exercise? Didn't I name people that had so many good? Zeke was one of the few that had so many years in a row. So, I mean, that was, if anyone wants to go back and find that one, having a running back be first or second round talent, that many years, it doesn't happen. If Ezekiel Elliott does it, he'll be like a unicorn if he does it this year. I mean, not many people do it.
And if you believe that Zeke will do it, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying that you're following the unicorn. You're chasing the white rabbit. As people who've done some stuff know to chase a white rabbit, that's what you're doing right now. You are chasing that Adrian Peterson. You're chasing that player who is going to be extremely successful for 6, 7, 8 years. And Zeke could be that guy. But I think what Matt alluded to was the perfect reasoning why Zeke right now is not the better answer than Kamara. I think the Cowboys have 3 elite wide receivers who are going to take so much more of the play calling than they did a year ago without 3, with Randall Cobb there. I think
what you're saying is less stacked boxes so Zeke can gain more yards per carry?
No, I think
that's what I'm hearing.
I think the Cowboys are going to be very freaking dangerous because they have so many options to kill you with.
I think the addition of Tony Pollard coming into his second year, as Matt said, is a huge benefactor. Is a huge factor, into the Zeke fantasy production. I think Zeke is a successful running back. I think he's a top 6 running back, but I think the years of him getting 320 carries and being the extreme bell cow is over.
Yeah, and remember, the important thing to remember here is, as a Packer fan, I know this better than anyone. They don't care about your fantasy team. They do not care. Tony Pollard is there they paid Zeke a lot of money to help them win football games, and to make sure he's healthy is paramount. So especially in the regular season, when you have all those pass catchers and Tony Pollard, there's no reason to necessarily run him into the ground. But before, that was probably your best path to victory. Absolutely. Now it's not. It's not now.
When you were 13-3 in both of their rookie years, Dak and Zeke, you had Dez, and that was it. You had to have Zeke have 22, 25 carries a game to be that successful, because you ran behind that offensive line, which now that offensive line is becoming more depleted by the year. Every single year. And that is what a successful running game is. You can have the best running back in the world. If your offensive line is poop, there's nothing you can do.
I'm saying, for safety wise, he's the only one that I feel really like, one more year I feel really comfortable if I'm on the clock and I'm looking at Christian McCaffrey for my top 4. I'm looking at Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, I'm looking at Zeke, and I'm looking at Saquon. Those are the 4 ones that I've eyeing so far. I haven't really decided on who's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 just yet. But if the other 3 are taken and I'm 4th, and I'm like, okay, I need a running back, I'm very comfortable in getting Ezekiel Elliott as my 4th guy if the other 3 end up being more highly ranked than him, instead of going with Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, or Michael Thomas. I feel very comfortable if I'm going that running back first round pick.
I think you're right there, which is why picking there is going to suck this year. In the first round, personally, I'd like to end up with, if I'm earlier, I'd like to have Barkley or Kamara. That's who I want this year. And better yet, I would love to be on the turn, maybe walk away with Mixon and Sanders together on the turn. Those are the 4 I'm interested in the most, as far as who I think is going to value and going into this year, where I feel kind of the most comfort level of maybe giving the possibility of jumping up to that like running back 1-2 range. Now, if I had the number 1 pick, I am taking Barkley over McCaffrey this year. Seems stupid, probably is. Maybe I'll talk myself out of it, but McCaffrey is the way he is built, that's a lot of work that's been put on him, and he didn't show any deterioration. But it's hard to imagine he can keep up what he did. Just like I said, it's easy to point and look at what he did, and you look at, all right, he hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. There's a new coach. They brought in a few other pass catching options there too. Barkley, because of injury, because of team, he doesn't have a whole ton of wear on him yet. I think he's your number 1. But yeah, if you're picking, like you said, those other guys are gone, I don't think you have a choice. I think Zeke is the pick there. So I do agree with you.
Yeah, and you should feel extremely comfortable picking him compared to somebody we were talking about, Fournette. Fournette to me is more, sure, we're talking about a lot of upside, but I'll feel way more comfortable like, oh, Zeke's going to get me the points versus I might get a little bit more with Fournette. I might get that. That's chasing the dragon for me as well, or chasing the rabbit, whatever you want to call it.
Question for you when you're done.
That's that Derrick Henry pick.
One guy you didn't mention, which team philosophy wise, it would make sense for him to be in this in this picture, and he's only really had one season of being like really put a lot of workload on him. But we didn't talk about Dalvin Cook at all. Is there any believers in here? Because obviously Thielen is still there, he wasn't quite himself. Stephon Diggs is out of town. They look like they were going to lean more and more run heavy. It's possible they go two-headed monster too in Minnesota. But what do you think of Dalvin Cook, who, if he's healthy, there's no reason why he couldn't still be in, obviously this conversation, should probably be taken ahead of the guys we were just even talking about. Like the chances of him, if healthy, I think in that system, outperforming Zeke, for example, are probably high. I don't trust him because,
and that's
but I was just, what are your guys' takes on Cook? Because if you're sitting there and those other guys, McCaffrey, Barkley, Kamara, are gone, and you're thinking about Zeke and Cook, that's probably a legitimate problem to think out. Are you guys leaning Cook at all, or are you just now not on him?
Go ahead, Nick.
I'll jump in here and bring up a couple different things we've all talked about. Well, I'll get back to the Dalvin Cook. First and foremost, Zeke Elliott. Again, we're going to the ADP with a fantasy football calculator and a half PPR. He's going 8th pick in the first round. That's way, way better than last year when you had to deal with Kamara, McCaffrey, Barkley, Zeke, all in the first 4 picks. If you can get Zeke in the 8th pick, especially in the 4th running back, that's absolutely fine. I do think I would rather have Barkley, Kamara over him, and CMC. I think he's nicely snugged, fit right in that 4th running back in fantasy football redraft. But if you can get him in the 8th round, not 8th pick, like because Adams went and Thomas went, and the Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes and these quarterbacks are all of a sudden being drafted way earlier than we've ever seen quarterbacks being drafted since Peyton Manning back in 2007. If that all happens, you can get Zeke in the 8th pick. That's great. However, I think the best value of these top running backs is Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook showed us that he can be the number 1 running back multiple weeks in a row. The loss of Stephon Diggs is tough. The addition of Justin Jefferson could be
decent,
right? Like it could be something that could at least open up the defenses a little bit more. You got to look at the defenses in that division. They're tough. That's 6 tough games against the tough running defenses. So I like Dalvin Cook. I think he is more like in the conversation of, do you draft him over Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs? Not in the question of, do you draft him in the top 4, maybe over Zeke? Even though he's shown that he can be the number 1 running back, I think there's a lot of different little parts that play into him being probably the 5th best running back if you like him over Jacobs.
I think the question with him is if those guys go, let's say Zeke also went and you're sitting on the clock and Cook's there, I think that's when you're like, do I take Devontae Adams now? Or do I take Cook? Because there's the running backs are together. We're on the turn. I think you could probably end up with a running back that you're happy enough with if you go that route. What'd you say?
Fournette.
Yeah, like Leonard Fournette. But I think Cook is one of those guys, either you believe in, or either he's a tremendous value as the 5th running back, or you go Devontae Adams, or if you want to go Julio, Michael Thomas, whatever. That's you go wide receiver. There you go. So I think that's when there's an obvious top 5 or top 4, and then you start.
It becomes a little bit more difficult there. But let's say you're in the back end of the 1st round, then probably the wide receivers are gone. Probably, and let's say that Dalvin Cook is still there. Do you pick him over? Because for me, he's the 5th, and then it's a little bit of a drop off to Mixon and Jacobs and that group. So it goes to top 4, Dalvin Cook, and then the tier 2 guys. So Cook is almost in a tier of his own, but like 1.1 to
Yeah.
Once you get to pick 8, I think Cook is like a must take. I think he kind of is, because I think once the top 4 running backs are gone and Julio and Devontae and Thomas are gone, I think that he is the guy. I don't think I can talk myself. I don't know. I'd love to talk myself into taking Miles Sanders over him. I don't think I can. Josh Jacobs, I don't think I can. I think it's obviously Cook at that point. I think
he's the obvious fit. I think there's an argument to be made for Chubb. There's an argument to be made for Jacobs, for Henry. All of these guys, like Henry, we all have these different ideas of why they're not going to be better than Dalvin Cook. Henry, it might be because he's been overused for year in, year out. But Dalvin Cook has shown injury problems for year in and year out. It might be Josh Jacobs because he's in John Gruden's offense. I don't know why you don't like Josh Jacobs. I don't know why anyone really wouldn't.
I love Josh Jacobs. I would love to have him. I'd rather be in that spot. And Cook had already gone, and I can just take Jacobs with a big smile on my face.
But the argument can be made for him over Dalvin Cook, and then Nick Chubb, the argument can be made over Dalvin Cook. But all in all, ultimately, like I'm taking Dalvin Cook, regardless of the injury problems. Give me a Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. Let's see. We have a few minutes left, and I want to run at least one more player by you about some negative regression coming in 2020. And this player, I know I bring up Phillip Rivers a lot and my hate for him, but Keenan Allen is, in my opinion, about to take a major step back without him in 2020. I don't see him being a top 15, maybe not even a top 20 wide receiver in PPR with Tyrod Taylor or Justin Herbert as his quarterback. The drop-off from Rivers is just too big for Allen to make up for what, like, with his own talent. There aren't many receivers out there that are quarterback proof, in my opinion. Allen is not one of them. He relies on the accuracy of Rivers to rack up yards on a ton of catches. His receiving patterns aren't big play that he shows that he's like, I'm a freaking fantastic receiver, instead of just racking up based on the accuracy of a quarterback that does a lot of accurate throwing, because that's at least something that I do like about Rivers. He is accurate when he throws, unless he throws straight to a defender, but at least he's accurate on those two. Do you see any way for Keenan Allen to land in the top 20 with the quarterbacks on his roster this year?
See a way? Sure. He's so talented that I think he could do it on his own. Do I think he will? No. Tyrod Taylor, who I think is a tremendous value. I know Nick disagrees with me vehemently. He does have Austin Eckler. He has Hunter Henry. He has outlets down low that he can bail him out of tough situations. I think he'll take full advantage of those. Mike Williams, back injury and all, still alive. So, yeah, I think that where Keenan Allen's going now, even though he's behind guys like T.Y. Hilton and DK Metcalf, who I don't know where I'd go in that direction. There's people going way behind him still. I mentioned A.J. Brown before, DJ Chark, Calvin Ridley, who I'd much feel a lot, especially Ridley, I feel a lot safer waiting on. So I'm not going to pull the trigger on Allen. He'd have to fall in a draft for me. So do I see a path? Sure. Because Taylor can still throw it out there if he wants to, and he's still incredibly talented. I think that his talent will allow him to do that if he's healthy. But too many boxes are checked in the negative direction for Keenan Allen. So no. Nope.
Nick, are you on the same level on this one?
Everything Matt said is mute, right? Like everything Matt said, that whole point is just a mute conversation because Tyrod Taylor is not going to be starting.
Yes, he is.
It is absolutely impossible for him to be the starting quarterback for the Los Angeles Chargers come season start because, geez Louise, they're trying to make a Super Bowl, and your best bet is with Herbert. So, do I think
Herbert sucks.
Oh, no, he doesn't.
Herbert sucks.
Senior Bowl MVP, man. Represent.
Herbert.
You know who else?
Chargers.
You know who else?
Yeah, the Chargers are not very good.
Dak Prescott. He went 13-3 his rookie year. All I'm saying is you have Justin Herbert in there, not Tyrod Taylor, not Tyrod.
I don't want to hear about Ice Sherbert. I don't know. No.
Herbert is going to make Keenan Allen a top 40 receiver. Top 40 wide receiver.
40? Okay. Yeah. I can buy that.
And that's all he's going to be. No, Keenan Allen's not going to be successful without Phillip Rivers. Keenan Allen is a target machine who relies on an older quarterback to just like put him into Keenan Allen. He's not going to go deep. Mike Williams is going to be more successful because Herbert is going to be able to air it out more. You're going to see more of like a Josh Allen, and this is just relevant to me, but Matthew Stafford in his rookie year, just air that brother out. He's going to let the rock go. It's going to be very successful. It's not going to be this 9-7, no interception, 16 touchdowns, and 3 interception season from Tyrod Taylor. It's not going to be that. It's going to be Justin Herbert playing his rookie year and leading it. He is your franchise quarterback. You do not draft him 6th overall, to bench him unless you're Hugh frickin' Jackson, who will draft the dude 1st overall and bench him for Tyrod Taylor.
Hold on. What can we bet right now? Friendly bet. The chances of him starting on opening day are literally 1%. If
what do we
Tyrod
bet?
Taylor is healthy, I literally want to call it almost 0, but I will say 1%. What do you want to bet? There's got to be something here. Like we don't have to do it now. We got to think of something.
Can we get Nick in like a Packers cap or something?
Well, that would require him to buy a Packers cap, and that just seems like, what's he going to do with it after that?
That's the punishment.
Burn it. That seems wrong.
Not wrong. It's not wrong.
We'll come up with like you ever see Trading Places? $1. Like, I mean, we need to. There's no way Herbert is starting over Taylor come week 1. No way. And Taylor, I think, will do fine for a team that is going to try to compete. So he's going to have to play horribly. Because they're not going to
Analytics wants to get in on the bet too. That's how unlikely this is, that we have people in the chat who wants to bet against Nick.
Good. Let's go. I'll take Herbert. Also for $1, I'll take
$1. You're going to have to ship $1 out to like everybody.
Which, by the way, I'm pretty sure you guys don't believe Tua's going to start with Fitz in the freaking first week. You guys are crazy. You are high off your mind, and you think we're still in the 2008 league. Like, what are we doing, boys? You draft a quarterback this early to start him unless you have a playoff quarterback.
Hey, did they trade up for Tua?
No.
Oh, they didn't trade up for Tua. If they traded up for him, I'd agree with you. They still fell into their lap. They didn't want him enough. They didn't want him enough to trade up for him, though.
You want to add another $1? Let's add another $1.
$1 more. Week 1. Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Have you heard of Jared Goff?
I love when I'm going to have these 2 $1 bills. I'm going to have them framed behind me. And when those guys come in week 2, the dollars are still going to be hung up forever.
I'm putting those
flags fly forever.
Right on my Lions. This is what I'm doing.
Yes, have them
I'm gonna have a $1 bill just floating in a circle behind me, and it's going to be the $1 you send me.
Tyrod Taylor is not going to start week 1. It's crazy.
There's more of a chance of Ryan Fitzpatrick starting week 1 for the Chargers than there is for Herbert. I don't know how that would happen.
No, I agree. Ryan Fitzpatrick starts. But guys, you know who starts in week 1? This show starts week 1. As always, we start every week. We're here at 8:30 live, and you can also catch us on
that didn't make any sense.
Anchor. It never does. But I'm high on live. You can catch us on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere where you get your podcast. You can catch us on YouTube at cstfantasy.com. And I want to thank everybody for joining me here today in the chat. Matt Williams, Nick Faber, as always, super fun to have both y'all on the show every week and just go crazy with fantasy and the Blueberry Talk ahead of the show. Let's see if we can do some more of that. But check out cstfantasy.com for even more fantasy content. Go to the YouTube channel and check out the Melvin Gordon video coming out this week. But signing off for the Fantasy Rabbit Hole is Nick Faber, Matt Williams, and CSD Fantasy. Till next time.